All right. So as always, feel free to start in this first part, however is comfortable for you. And, just take a moment to check in and see what might feel comfortable for you this morning. Maybe you're feeling a little sleepy and you'd rather be in an upright position so you don't get too sleepy, or maybe you'd rather be in a reclined position. Really just taking a moment to check in and offer yourself whatever it is that you need right now. We're going to be focusing a fair amount today on core, both physical and emotional, spiritual sense of core. So one of the things that I love about yoga is how all of these different focuses or things that are happening in our physical body can also mirror what is going on in our emotional and spiritual bodies. So of course, there's the physical core that we'll do some work with throughout the practice today, but there is this sense of the core of our being, the core of who we are. And in my own life, this is something that I have struggled with immensely, really being authentic in this crazy world that we live in. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of stimulation coming from the outside world that affects our ability to be able to authentically be ourselves. Sometimes not even knowing what ourselves means in any given moment because the world can be so chaotic and rattling. So one of the gifts of this yoga practice or mindfulness practice is the ability to learn to slow oneself down, to connect with the sensations in the body and in the breath. And in that, connect with our authentic selves. And it's difficult to be our authentic selves if we don't have the chance to really connect with what that is. So in this practice, starting out by feeling a sense of grounding. Where am I? Where is my body in this space? Where is my body making contact with the mat? What are the sensations on the surface of my skin and deeper within? Feeling the sensations of heart and breath. And acknowledging that there is nothing else that you need to be right now. There's no particular role that you need to play. When we offer ourselves in our practice an opportunity to pause, to feel, to connect, we can take that with us in our lives and pause before we respond. So taking a few more moments here with this shared intention of connecting authentically to ourselves as we are right now. The good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. And if you'd like to here, you can take the soles of the feet together if you're in this reclined position and allow the knees to come open, just opening up a bit through the inner thighs. Keeping the breath nice and easy here, allowing the body to receive the stretch. You can take the hands to the outer thighs and assist them to come back together, placing the hands on the knees as you draw the knees in towards the chest. We'll make some circles with the knees, stirring up the hips a little bit, maybe releasing a little bit through the back. Keeping a neutral spine and perhaps just a tiny bit of core engagement here as you stir the knees and keep the spine lengthened and the back body connected to the mat. Here you can reverse direction of the circle. And then bring the knees so they are stacked on top of the hips, finding a neutral spine here, flexing the feet, lengthening the neck. And neutral spine, you don't have to totally press the low back, but you're not overly arched either. Just finding that neutral spine, core engagement. And with the next exhalation, taking your right heel and lowering it down. It doesn't have to connect to the mat. And then using the core to bring it back up. So it's stacked right on top of the hip again. And then lowering that left leg, using the core to bring it back up. And alternating sides. If that is pulling on your low back, another alternative is to have both feet placed down on the mat and then lift the right leg, lower the right leg, and then lift the left leg and lower the left leg. Either one you're doing, you're trying to maintain your very neutral spine and trying to move with control rather than moving with momentum. Just starting to wake up the core, slow, purposeful movement. And then allowing the feet to rest down onto the mat. And we'll take a few rounds of imprinting with the low back. So we're taking the low back and kind of lifting it up off of the mat so that you could almost slide your forearm or could slide your forearm underneath. And then exhaling, pressing the low back, feeling that lift of the tailbone, core engagement here. And then inhale, lift the low back, feel the pelvis and rib cage in the front body kind of part and stretch away from one another. Exhaling, pressing the low back, squeezing the belly, and taking that a few more times, exploring it at your own pace. Continuing with the intention of staying grounded and rooted in your own body. And from that place of being connected with ourselves, we have a better opportunity to be authentic in the world. As you're ready, finding that neutral spine, or you can even press just a little bit with the low back. We'll take the hands behind the head, maybe feel a little stretch here in the chest as you do so. And then as you exhale, coming into a mini crunch, drawing the pelvis and rib cage closer together in the front, and then lowering down with control. Taking that just a couple more times at your own pace. Your fingers can actually help with lengthening the back of the neck so you're not crunching too much in that space. Feeling that sensation of drawing the rib cage and pelvis closer and then drawing them further apart. The next time you're down, you can stay down and we'll combine those two movements. So as you exhale, you can lift your right leg and come into that mini crunch. Inhaling at the top and then exhaling, lowering down. Inhaling here, maybe lifting that low back just a bit. Exhaling, pressing the low back and coming into that mini crunch, lifting the left leg. Slow and controlled, just taking that a couple more times at your own pace. If that starts to bother the head or shoulders, another option would be to reach the arms. Sometimes that feels better in my body, not always for everyone, but just an idea just in case that was starting to pull on your head or neck too much. And then let's release down from that, stretching the arms and legs in opposition, elongating the torso, the spine, the shoulders, arms, fingertips and toes. And then releasing the arms down. You can keep the legs outstretched on the mat and take the right leg and hug it in, or you can have a bend in the left knee. Either one is fine, whatever feels more supportive to your low back. From here, if you find that the neck is crunching, see if you can elongate the neck. If there's still a lot of strain in the neck, feel free to take your block or your pillow or whatever you have handy and bring that underneath the head so that you feel comfortable there. You can take some ankle circles if you'd like to. You can kind of bring that leg and maybe just sway it away from the body a little bit and then across the body a little bit, getting a stretch here through the IT band, through the inner thigh a little bit. If you have a strap and you'd like to use that, please feel free to do so. Just taking that leg in a small range of motion, side to side, noticing if there's spots where the stretch feels really nice. Definitely stay there if you'd like to, experiencing the sensations. And then pausing in center, reconnecting with your lengthened spine, neutral spine, grounding down through the whole body, the left leg, the arms, the back of the head, the back, shoulder blades, and then taking that leg and circling it around, engaging the core to find stability in the rest of the body so you're not swaying from side to side as you circle this right leg. And then switching directions. Keeping the circle the size that is best for you in order to keep control to the movement. And then hugging that right knee in towards the chest, taking a few more ankle circles if that feels nice. And then with that right hand on the right knee, you can take that right leg away from the body and then across the body just a little ways. Taking that side to side while keeping the shoulder blades planted, just kind of a little side to side movement. And then releasing that right leg. You can have it bent or lengthened out on the mat. Taking a hold of the left leg and maybe taking some ankle circles here with that left ankle. If you'd like to use a strap, you can certainly use a strap. If you want to bend and lengthen a few times, you can certainly do that. Just exploring where that stretch is needed right now in your body. And then if you'd like to, you can take that sway side to side, bringing it a little ways across the body for the IT band stretch, and then a little ways away from the body towards the left. No right or wrong here. Feeling if there's anything that you need to do a little more of or a little less of, being sure to honor that right now. We'll release the arms down and come into our single leg circle. I like to have a pointed foot for the single leg circle. Some people like to have the foot flexed. Either way, just making sure it's not floppy, it's active. And then switching directions. As best as possible, staying sturdy through the rest of the body, stable, not swaying side to side, isolating that movement to the leg circle. And then hugging that left knee in towards the chest. Add a few more ankle circles if you'd like. And left hand is on that left knee, and you can take it away from the body and a little ways across the body. And then hugging both knees into the chest. If you want to, you can lift the head and shoulders a little bit more for a full back stretch, or keep the head and shoulders down on the mat. Maybe rocking side to side or finding kind of a circular motion. And then with the right hand, we'll guide both knees over towards the right. And here, do what is best for your neck. You can take your gaze up towards the ceiling, or you can take the gaze out over towards the left. Opening up the chest, getting a stretch through the hips. And then bringing the legs back through center and over towards the left. The gaze can come out towards the right if you'd like. Elongating the space between the right rib cage and the right hip. And coming back to center. One more thing here, we'll do our tick-tock. So knees are stacked on top of the hips, working the oblique muscles now, bringing the legs over towards the right, just a little ways back to center and over towards the left. Using the side belly, the oblique muscles to lift and lower the legs and keep the movement pretty controlled. Inhaling and exhaling as you move, keeping the shoulders pretty planted. Opposite shoulder may lift up a little bit. And releasing down from that. We'll come up to a seated position now. And I'm just going to face over this way. So in this seated position, if you have a strap, you can use it. If you don't have a strap, you don't have to use it because you don't have one. You could use a belt. You could climb along the legs. So lots of options. You don't have to have a strap. Sometimes it's nice to have one if you do. And from here, we're going to find our hinge at our hips and just fold over those legs, keeping length in the spine. Breathing into that stretch. Feel free to sway a little bit if that helps. Keeping the heart lifted and the collarbone broad. Little bend to the knees is perfectly fine. Feeling the sensation of the stretch through the backs of the legs. And from here, we're going to part the legs just a little bit. And I personally like to have a bend in my knees for this next one because this next one is more about core strength and stability and less about hamstring stretching. In fact, we don't really want to feel the hamstrings a ton. We're going to feel as if we were pressing up against a wall behind us. So the spine is super long. Sits bones are rooted down. Space between the pelvis and rib cage. So just grow a little bit taller here. And we'll bring the arms out in front of us. Plug the shoulder blades back in if that caused a rounding to the spine, and just sit up super straight here. From here, we're going to start with the crown of the head and start to articulate first the upper spine and then the mid spine as we reach forward. So we're kind of rounding the spine now, and we're going to pull the belly button back towards the spine, feeling the core engage, and then inhale, stack the vertebra back up one by one. So taking that a few more times, always starting and stopping with that very lengthened spine. And then as you reach forward, I like to think about reaching forward almost as if I was reaching, if there was like a bar right at my belly button, that I had to kind of suck my belly button in a little bit towards the spine to reach over. And taking that a couple more times with breath, articulating the spine, squeezing the core, stabilizing the pelvis. And last time, exhaling down. And inhaling, articulating up. From here, we're going to bring that into a twist so the arms can come wide. And we're going to take our left arm back. Right arm reaches over towards the left pinky toe. So we're still finding that spinal articulation up and then down. So right arm reaches back, left arm reaches forward, trying to keep even weight on the sits bones as we move the spine. Inhaling up to that lengthened spine and exhaling, articulating down. So the core is working to find stability in the legs, the pelvis, to keep the spine super long on the way up. And releasing down from that. From here, taking the knees in a little bit closer, hands behind the thighs, and we'll take a few rounds of cat-cow from this seated position. Exhaling, tucking the tailbone, rounding the upper back, pulling the belly button in, squeezing the core, and then inhaling, opening up through the chest. So a lot of times with this cat-cow, we think about spinal articulation, which is great, but there's also a fair amount of core work that occurs in cat-cow, especially when you're in that rounded position, pulling the belly in. It's also a really nice stretch for the abdominal area, the front body, as you lift the chest. And then from here, we're going to transition to all fours. If you don't want to be in all fours, you can come to your belly. Either way, we're going to work with, they call balancing cat. So we'll take the right leg back, crown of the head reaches forward, connecting with your very lengthened neutral spine, and then taking that left arm forward. So you can do this from the belly as well if you don't want to be on all fours. We're alternating sides. Glutes and hamstring muscles are working. Core is working on stability. Just kind of to demo, if you are doing it from the belly, you're lifting, alternating sides, lifting opposite arm and opposite leg. Trying to keep the neck neutral here as you lift and as you lower. Core has to work to keep the shoulder girdle and pelvic girdle pretty steady and the spine lengthened. And let's pause with the left arm and the right leg extended. If this feels too topsy-turvy, definitely feel free to replace the arm. And we're going to take the left elbow towards the right knee and then inhale, reach. Elbow to knee, inhale, reach. Elbow to knee, and inhale, reach. Replace that left hand. We're going to take that right leg and step it behind the left leg, and then walk the hands out towards the left. I love this stretch. I think it's just such a nice side body stretch, getting a stretch through the right side of the body. And then walking back to center, resetting yourself, and we'll take the left leg and the right arm. Exhaling, elbow to knee, and inhale, reach. Now, if you weren't using the arm, you're taking the knee in towards the chest and then reach. Sometimes that opposite arm makes it just a little too impossible for balance. And then replacing that right hand, we'll step the left leg behind the right leg and walk both hands over towards that right side of the mat, getting a nice stretch through the left side of the body. And walking back through to center. Here you can sink back to child's pose. If you don't want to be on your knees, you could come to your belly and take windshield wiper legs, reaching the arms forward, elongating the spine. And then if you'd like to, from here, take the arms to your sides. If you don't want to be kneeling, you could be in a seated position. And we'll inhale, articulate the spine up, reach the arms up, standing on the knees now, or from a seated position. Stretch through the whole front body, and then exhale, articulate the spine down. Trying to stack the vertebra, feeling that stretch through the front body, and also feeling the core engage, especially as you ravel down. Taking that one more time, inhaling up and exhaling down. Feel free to pause a bit in that child's pose, or feel free here to come into our first downward facing dog, pedaling out the feet. Elongating the spine, reaching the sits bones up towards the sky. Pressing the chest back towards the thighs, finding a neutral neck as best as possible. And from here, if you want, you can take your right leg and reach it up, reach that right heel up towards the sky, keeping the hips square, keeping the integrity of your downward facing dog as you press the chest back towards the thighs. Exhaling, releasing right leg. We'll take the left leg and reach it up. Right heel roots down, left heel reaches up. Chest continues to press back towards the thigh. And then releasing from that. From here, we'll walk the feet up towards the hands and find a halfway lift so the chest reaches forward. You may feel the weight just a little bit more in the balls of the feet. Heels are a little lighter. And then soft knees, exhale, fold forward, lengthen spine, shaking the head no and yes, perhaps, making sure the neck is long. And then on, well, actually before the inhale, just double check to make sure that your feet are about hip width distance. They're not angled in or angled out. And then now with this next inhalation, articulating the spine all the way up to standing, reaching the arms up here. And exhaling, hinging forward at the hips, folding forward. Inhale, find your halfway lift, lengthen. And exhale, folding back in. We're going to step the right leg back into a lunge position. Hands can frame that left foot, left knee stacked on top of left ankle. Or you could have your hands on a chair or blocks. And just a couple rounds here of inhaling to lengthen that left leg and exhaling to bend. I like to take my gaze forward as I exhale to bend and inhale to lengthen. So you can kind of move the chest and the shoulders along with you, feeling the upper back round as the leg straightens, and then feeling the chest lift as the leg bends. So it's kind of a mini kind of cat-cow in the upper back as you bend and lengthen through that front knee. The next time you're bent, we're going to pause with a bent knee, find some stability and a sense of rootedness through the feet, and lifting up into a lunge position. If you need to reset yourself once you get here, definitely do that. Sometimes we need to take the stance a little wider on the width of the mat, a little shorter on the length of the mat to feel a little more stable. We're going to take some arm circles here. So taking the arms back and open. And if you want to hold on to something and do one arm at a time, that's certainly fine as well. And then we're going to take those circles forward. Staying here if you'd like, or making it a full body movement. So taking the whole chest and torso over that front left leg, rounding, and then articulating up and lifting. One of these days I'm going to knock that picture over behind me, I'm afraid. Oh. And then on the next exhalation, taking those hands to frame that front left leg, and we'll step the left foot back to meet the right in downward facing dog, paddling the feet here. Whenever you're ready, finding some stillness in the legs, maybe taking a deeper bend in the knees so you can really press the chest back towards the thighs. And then we'll make our way into plank position, hugging the navel in. And exhale, lower all the way down. So hands can be kind of under the shoulders, or you could take them a little more forward for a little more support, lifting up through the chest and rooting down through the pelvis, tractioning the hands a little bit back towards you and reaching the heart forward. Legs are super active, kneecaps lifted, and lowering down from that. From here, option to take forearms underneath you, so elbows stacked right underneath the shoulders. And again, tractioning the chest forward, elbows pull back, pelvis roots down, tailbone reaches back towards the heels. Sphinx pose. And then from here, coming into hover position. So hover is like plank, except you are on your forearms. So option to be on the knees. Still, the spine is going to be long. I don't know how well you can see me. Or option to be on the balls of the feet, just like we would be for plank position. Belly pulls in, spine is long, shoulders are neutral. And then releasing down from that. From here, maybe you're pressing right back to down dog. Maybe you're taking some windshield wiper legs or child's pose. Nice opportunity here to just check in with what you need. And eventually meeting in downward facing dog. And from here, stepping the right foot forward, right knee stacked on top of right ankle. Chest can lift. We can find that cat-cow position with the spine as we lengthen that right leg, round the upper back, and then bend through that right knee, lift the chest. Trying to keep that knee somewhat on its little track. So sometimes the knee can kind of go in and out. See if you can keep it just on its little track, staying in line with the ankle and the hip. Taking the range of motion a little bigger or a little smaller, depending on what's right for you. And the next time you're in that front bent knee, you can make your way up to the standing lunge, readjusting yourself if needed. Squaring the hips. And we'll take those arm circles back, opening up through the chest. And then taking those arm circles forward. Again, if you prefer to hold on to something and alternate arms, that's absolutely fine. If you want to begin to make that a full body movement, we'll round the spine over that right leg and then articulate the spine up, coordinating the coordinating the arm movement with the spine movement. And the next time you're down, you can stay down, and we'll step left foot forward to meet the right, finding that forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift, lengthen through the spine. And exhale, fold back in. Softening a bit through the knees, rooting through the feet to rise. Inhaling, coming all the way up to standing, reaching up here. And exhaling, releasing down. We're going to come to the center of our mat now and take the heels together and the toes apart. So the feet are in kind of a Pilates V, they call it, zipping up the back body, squeezing the glutes, lengthening through the spine. Feel free to hold on to something for balance. We'll bend the knees, trying to keep the heels somewhat together. And then lift the heels, straighten the knees, squeezing that back of the legs together, and then lower the heels. We'll bend, lift, lengthen, and then replace the heels. Once again, bend, lift, lengthen, replace the heels. Going the opposite direction now, we'll lengthen up, bend, replace the heels, and straighten. Lengthen up, lifting the heels, bend the knees, keeping heels together if possible, replace the heels, and straighten the knees. Last time, lifting, bending, replacing the heels, and then straightening. Stepping the feet out wide now. Heels can be kind of even with the toes if you'd like. And we're going to lunge into our left knee. Hands can come to frame that left foot, or if you want to come up a little higher onto the thigh, feel free. And then come over to frame the right foot or right thigh. And then sweep those arms up and over towards the right. Bring them down to the left, the right. Sweep up and down, left and right, and sweep up. This time we'll stay up. We'll take the hands to the right now, bending through that right knee pretty much in line with the ankle and the toes. And bend over towards the left, and then reach up on that left side. Bend right and left, reach up left, bend right and left, and reach up. Elongate through the whole torso. Release the arms down. And we're going to take our right toes and rotate them over towards the right. Heel to arch alignment. Those back toes can be at just a slight angle so that the left heel is just back slightly from the toes. And then we'll lunge into that right knee for warrior 2. Hips are pretty level here. There's a tendency to kind of take that left hip way up higher than the right. See if you can kind of plug the hips pretty equal. Hands could even come to the hips, and then lengthen your upper body kind of away from the hips, elongating the spine. Arms can reach. Gaze can come out over the right fingertips if you'd like. Keeping that length through the torso, feeling the core engage. Sometimes we don't think about the core too much in this posture, but in order to keep that lengthened spine and the heaviness through the tailbone and the feet. And we'll inhale to reverse the warrior. Left hand comes down to the left leg, right arm reaches up. And exhale to extend, keeping the low body as it is as we move the upper body. Inhale to reverse and exhale to extend. Starting to utilize the strength in the core now and less of the weight on the hands. And then if you'd like to, you can take that left arm forward in front of you as you come into that reverse position. Right arm reaches up and over. So we're using that lift through the core and through the oblique muscles rather than the pressure on the hand. And then exhale to extend. Right arm can come in front. Left arm reaches up and over. And then taking that at your own pace, working through the oblique muscles. Keeping the shoulder blades as if they were grazing up against the wall behind you. Keeping the spine lengthened. And the next time you pass through center, we'll stay there and just straighten through that front right leg, hinging over that right leg into triangle pose. First, lengthening through the torso on both sides. You can kind of take the hands again and pull the waist away from the rib cage. Make sure your right knee isn't locked, and then lengthen the arms in opposition. And then here, if you feel up to it, you can take those arms and reach them kind of on an angle, really engaging the core even more, or take the hands to the heart center. Either way, we're taking that left shoulder blade back rather than being leaned way forward. We want to stay long and open through the torso, really encouraging those left oblique muscles to be super active here. And then coming all the way back up, releasing those arms, taking the feet a little bit closer together. We're going to take the heels away from one another and rotate the toes slightly in, pigeon toeing the feet a little bit. And then turn those left toes towards the top of the mat, coming into warrior two on this opposite side. Making sure that left knee is stacked on top of left ankle. And even with this pose, there's a tendency to have that knee get a little bit sloppy and rotate in. See if you can keep it rotating open so it stays stacked. Getting a good stretch through the inner thigh on that left side. Picking the rib cage up and away from the hips and lengthening through the crown of the head. Pulling the navel in slightly, engaging through the core. And then from here, we'll inhale to reverse. Right hand comes down, just nice and light. Exhale, left arm comes down as you come into extended. And then taking that from side to side, staying stable in the low body. Keeping those shoulder blades open as if you were tracing them against a wall or something behind you. And then starting to remove that bottom arm. So left arm comes in front of you as you reach the right arm up and over. And then that right arm will come in front of you as you reach the left arm up and over. Using the oblique muscles here to go side to side as you find stability in the low body. And then the next time you pass through center, you can straighten without locking through that left knee. Hands can come to the hips to encourage that lengthened spine to start. Rotate that right shoulder open. And then as a final thought, lifting the arms. And then up to you. Hands can stay as they were, come to heart center, or reach up and over, coming into our triangle core, really active through the oblique muscles. And then inhaling, coming back up, taking the feet back towards one another, about hip width distance now. And we're going to take the left foot out towards the left. You can have your right hand on your right hip or wherever is comfortable. You could also hold on to something if you'd like. Left arm reaches up, and we're going to draw elbow towards knee, knee towards elbow. You can tap down each time, or you can keep that foot kind of in the air each time. Please feel free to hold on to a wall or a chair. Just think about squeezing that left rib cage and left hip towards one another as you contract through the oblique muscles. Taking that one more time to squeeze, pausing with the squeeze if possible. And then releasing that down, taking a side body stretch here. Releasing from that. You can place the left hand on the left hip, or you can hold on to something. Take the right toes and just angle them out towards the side. Reach that right arm up, and then exhale, elbow towards knee, knee towards elbow, and inhale, reach. Taking that in a pace that makes sense to your body. Moving with the breath if possible, exhaling to squeeze, inhaling to reach. And the next time you have the elbow towards the knee, pausing here. Pausing in that squeeze, contracting. And releasing down from that. Taking that right arm up and over for a side stretch. And releasing down from that. Let's see here. All right. We are going to make our way down to the mat, and you can come over onto your left side. Actually, why don't you come over onto your right side so we end on the correct side. At least it will be for me. I don't know about you guys, but I think that will be the correct side. All right. So you can be down here on your right forearm, or you could have your right arm down and have your head kind of resting. You can change it up as we go along if you'd like to. We're going to come into some side leg exercises for the core and the legs. Left hand can come in front, or it can stay on the hip. Legs are at a little bit of a diagonal, neck is long, and we're going to circle that left leg. Trying not to rock side to side, front to back, finding stability. And if you have hip replacement or tender hips, you can experiment with tucking something underneath. Here, we'll reverse direction now. Or you can do this from your back if you don't want to be laying on your side. Coming back to center, we'll flex that top foot. Feet are about hip width distance apart, and we'll kick that left leg forward. Take a little pulse at the top of the kick, and then take that leg back with a little pulse. So leg muscles are active, but of course, core is active too, because you don't want to go side to side through the whole torso. We want to keep the hips and the shoulders stacked without rocking side to side too much. So core is working too. Little pulse forward, little pulse back. And then coming back to center, we're going to rotate the foot now. So we're going to take that left big toe and kind of tap it down. It doesn't have to connect with the mat. And then make an arc, and the heel comes down on the opposite side. So we're just kind of arching over that bottom leg. And it does not have to connect with the mat. And taking that one more time. And coming back to center. We're going to do a bicycle now. So we're going to take that that left knee rather, and bring it in towards the chest. And then as if we were pedaling a giant bicycle, we're going to extend that left leg back, sweep it forward, bend it, and then push it back as if we were really pushing on a pedal. Bending, pushing. And now we're going to go in the opposite direction. So with that knee bent in front, we're going to push down, take a straight leg back, bend, and bring it through. Push back with that straight leg, bend, and bring it through. Last time here, feeling the glutes working, the legs, the core, and releasing from that. From here, simply switching sides. So we're over on that left hip now. Feet are going to be at that slight angle, and we'll take those circles forward. Using the core. If at any point your neck or shoulders are bothering you, you can rest your head if you want to. Keeping really active through that bottom left leg. Trying to avoid swaying side to side. And then taking that in the opposite direction, taking that circle backwards now. Anytime you need a pause, especially on this second side, feel free to take it. And then from here, we'll pause at center, feet about hip width, taking that top right leg forward and then swinging it back with a little pulse in each direction. Little pulse forward, little pulse back, trying to stay as stable as can be through the pulses, keeping the range of motion such that you can keep it in control. And last time, taking that right knee up, and then we're going to find that giant bicycle, taking it and straightening it back, swinging it forward, bending, and pressing back. Slow and controlled. And then bending that knee in front, we're going to switch directions. So we'll straighten it forward, straight back, bend, and bring it through. Taking that a couple more times. And releasing from that. Let's roll onto our backs and find either knees hugging in towards the chest or happy baby pose. Happy baby pose, bring the hands either to the soles of the feet or the backs of the thighs. Taking the feet up towards the sky, pressing the knees down towards the underarms. Catching your breath a little bit here, slowing down. And we'll release just the left leg and cross that right ankle on top of the left knee. Hands can come to your sides. And we're going to take that leg and just sway it side to side, kind of pivoting on that heel a little bit. I made the mistake of doing a leg workout with lots of lunges and squats and different things like that on Saturday, and then Sunday I ran. I went for a longer run and I went for a long walk, and my legs are still not feeling 100% today. So I've decided today and yesterday that I've been very kind and just doing kind of a lot of yoga and stretching to release some of that. I overdid it a little bit. I got too excited about the weather. Here you can take your hands and bring them around the back of the left leg, hugging the thigh in. And this is another opportunity if you want to take the block behind your head or pillow behind your head. Sometimes I see people in this posture and it looks really uncomfortable because they're kind of on the top of their head and they're elevated and crunching. But we really want to keep the upper body as comfortable as possible in this stretch. So just double check to make sure that your back is either connected with the mat or that you've got something tucked underneath you if you can't quite connect there. And releasing from that, and we'll cross the left ankle just on top of the right knee and take that little sway side to side, kind of pivoting on the heel, noticing if there's one spot or another that feels really nice for that stretch. Coming back to center, taking a hold of the back of that right leg, and feel free to tuck something behind the head if you'd like to for a little more support on this side. Might be different than the other side. Feel free to move a little bit. I found that over the years, I enjoy finding a bit of organic movement throughout the various different poses. Sometimes that helps settle in. Feel free to explore, continuing to breathe into the stretch. And whenever you're ready, releasing from that and finding once again a place of stillness, a couple of options that you might like. Sometimes it feels really good if you have a block, just to tuck it into just the very, very low back, tuck it underneath and come into a supported bridge pose. Sometimes it feels nice to have the legs outstretched or have the legs up the wall on your chair. Take a few moments to kind of explore what you'd like to do. Feeling wherever you are, that sense of being right here, that sense of being right home in this body, in this time, in this space. Feeling at home with your breath and your heart, your sensations. This you that you are in this very moment. With all its flaws and all its beauty. Quote from Brene Brown: authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we actually are. So, taking another moment or two here, sealing in that intention or anything else that you gained from this practice, sealing that in for a moment here. If you'd like to, you can bring the hands towards the heart. You can come up to seated, or you can stay lying down. I thank you all so very, very much for practicing with me, for sharing your practice and your positive energy with each other and with me this morning. Namaste.